Man, we're having all sorts of technical problems today.
What's up, guys? This is episode 10 of the Alphacast, and joining me today is the respected genius, Julius.
What up?
How are you, man?
I'm doing all right, man. It's been a good week. Good week to talk about games. We got a lot to talk about, and I had a lot of fun playing games, so I'm really looking forward to this podcast.
Yeah, I've been gaming a lot this week, and I'm kind of swamped some games right now because I got to get a review at the door, but when you're playing games, it's always a good time. We are also joined by the California Dreamboat, Jake.
How you doing, Brett?
I'm very well, man. I'm kind of tired, but it is what it is. And we are also joined by the creator of this wonderful program, Grant.
How's it going?
I'm not bad. And I am your host, Brett, and welcome to the world's greatest podcast. Let's start with what we're playing. So, Grant, what are you playing right now?
Still playing Last of Us Remastered. Multiplayers are so good. We talked about that before. Also, Rogue Legacy, still playing that. We also talked about that before, so I won't go too much into that. I just don't think we've touched much on like the traits that your characters have in it. Like sometimes, like your character will be like really tall. I think it's called like giantism or something, and then maybe he'll have ADHD, so he runs really fast, or maybe he gets random muscle spasms, so throughout the level when you're playing, your controller will just shake. So little stuff like that I think is pretty cool. And last thing I've been playing is Plants vs. Zombies Garden Warfare. I'm really liking it a lot. I think the more that you play it, like, because you're unlocking new characters that you can use when you play, so I think the more I get into it, the more I'll like it.
Yeah, I mean, The Last of Us Remastered, I mean, we've talked about it. We've pretty much beaten it to death. It's awesome. My brother came over like a weekend or two ago, and he played a little bit on the PS3, and he played more extensively the remastered version, and he fell right back in love with what he played. And it's awesome to see like someone so close to you feeling that same feeling that you feel when you play the game. And the multiplayer, it's so addicting. Playing with you guys, like it's so much fun. Getting like a team chemistry going and like taking down people. It's awesome. And Plants vs. Zombies, I haven't played any of those games. They seem really interesting. I would probably have to hear your thoughts more on them, but I've always been intrigued by them. I know our friend Cody's playing it too. He's really into it. It seems like a really like unique, quirky, it's like a comical kind of multiplayer game.
Yeah, I like it a lot from what I've played so far. It's different from what a normal shooter is, but I like it a lot.
And Jake, what are you playing?
Well, as Grant said, I'm also playing Last of Us Remastered and Rogue Legacy. I beat Last of Us Remastered on grounded mode. Yes. It was hard.
That seems impossible.
Joel died 455 times. I'd say about 400 of those were my fault.
Wow.
But I just started Rogue Legacy 2, and I'm liking that. Kind of like what Grant was saying. I like how you have your offspring kind of continues the adventure for you, and how you kind of pick traits and things like that. Like, I think that's a really cool, it's a really interesting twist to it. But I prefer Spelunky. I thought Spelunky it's a lot tighter in my opinion. It's a bit more addicting. I know people have been comparing the two. And then I was playing Infamous Second Son, but to be honest, I kind of lost interest in it.
Why is that?
I don't know. Just couldn't get into the story. Voice acting and everything like that is really good. The presentation's great, but for some reason it just couldn't hold me, which is the same thing that's happened with Infamous 1 and 2. So I don't know why I picked up Second Son, to be honest.
Yeah, I heard the story is not really anything great in Second Son. I love the first two games, and I'm kind of iffy about buying Second Son because, like, I heard, like, the story is non-existent, and it's a fun action game, but it's an okay game. But I mean, it looks great. Besides that, the combat, it's that like classic Infamous combat. Last of Us Remastered, I don't know how in the world you did grounded mode.
Neither do I.
Oh my gosh, I probably would have like exploded because like if I die like 3 or 4 times in a row from like some petty little thing, I'll be like, oh, like it's so annoying. It really gets me angry. And 400 plus times, oh my gosh, I couldn't even imagine like how I would feel after that.
Well, I was telling you guys while I was at the last section, the hospital, there are no checkpoints in that entire area.
Wow.
So from the moment Joel kills that guy, it's like you have to make it all the way to Ellie from the beginning just without dying. And I finally made it past the first section. You see a little cutscene. He like barricades the door. I'm like, all right, checkpoint. Walk into the next room. Don't even do anything. I just get shot on sight. I'm like, all right, I got a checkpoint. Nope, back at the beginning.
Wait, that's really not a checkpoint?
Nope, not a checkpoint.
Wow.
Oh gosh. There's no way I could do that.
But I'm gonna platy that. Gonna platinum that.
Yeah, and Infamous, I liked it a lot, but the story was average. I liked the characters a lot, and the gameplay was just so much fun in that game.
So I love that Troy Baker.
Yeah, he plays like
So good.
everyone in video games.
And Julius, what are you playing?
Well, this week I've been playing Madden 15, and
You're so lucky.
Yeah, how do you have that?
well, I have EA access, so that means
Okay.
I get the trial version of it, until it comes out, and wow, okay, like I'm a Madden player, and I've been a fan of Madden since the very first Madden I had, the original John Madden football, and so I've always loved the series, and in recent years it just has been, pretty much it's been a roster update, a carbon copy of the previous edition, and there haven't really been any like major leaps forward, for the series, but wow, okay, finally, I feel like we have the Madden game that we should have had years ago. It's the polish like on it, like it looks amazing. Playing it on Xbox One, it looks amazing. The graphical update is just awesome. What I really like about this version of Madden is the fact that everything that happens on the field is so dynamic, and there's so much stuff happening. It really finally feels like a true NFL broadcast. It really feels like I'm watching a game on CBS. I mean, everything from the way the game starts, and Jim Nantz and Phil Simms talking about the game, and then even during halftime, there's a lot more conversation, and there's a highlight reel, and that's actually there's commentary associated with the highlight reel where they're discussing, okay, hey, Ben Roethlisberger threw this pass to Heath Miller for a touchdown, when it was 36 yards or whatever the case may be. Like, it's that detailed, and it's really on spot on with everything that happens in the game. And then just down to nowadays the NFL is so full of like celebrations and trash talk and everything else, and you see it happening so often. I mean, it's you end up missing some things that are happening in the game because there's so much stuff going on, from one guy's getting the first down and he's making the first down gesture, to another guy is getting upset because he missed a tackle, or and almost all the defensive players that I've played with so far, like from Julius Peppers to Jared Allen to a bunch of other different defensive players, they have their custom, sack dances and everything else. And it really is a move forward for the series, even the defensive aspect of the game. And I don't want to monopolize this conversation, but Madden is just like a large improvement. And I'm unexpectedly surprised. I'm just really surprised about how good it is this year.
What I've noticed with the Madden games is that it kind of seems like, when the new console comes out, the Madden that launches with it usually isn't that good, because they're kind of just porting it up from the last gen. But then the year after is usually when we get a good Madden, and people seem to get most on board during those releases. I could be wrong though. This is just my guess from what I've come up with.
Yeah, I think that's kind of a fair assessment. That definitely that first Madden on a new console generation is always pretty bad. But this is a big leap ahead. Brett, you were going to say something?
Yeah, I tend to skip Madden. I'll play like a Madden and then I'll skip that following year because it tends to be a roster update, like you said, the previous like 3 or 4 years or so, and it's just kind of like a rehash of new players and such, and there's not much of an incentive to get the next one. But Madden 15, I'm really excited for. I mean, I've seen some gameplay and like just like there's little details in between. The defense is more realistic now, and it just seems awesome. I mean, I haven't been into a Madden since like Madden 09 or Madden 11, and I mean what you describe, it sounds amazing, and I cannot wait to pick this up.
Yeah, I'm expecting that. I've already started working on the review. I plan on being finished with that by the end of the night. So definitely by the time anybody hears this podcast, the review will be up on the site. And really just trying to be detailed about all of the different changes. Because I mean, like I said, this is the Madden that we've wanted for quite some time. It's not perfect. It still has some minor things that need to be improved, particularly when it comes to the connected franchise mode. But overall, just the gameplay on the field has never been better.
Mm. What else are you playing?
Still playing Lego The Hobbit. I'm a sucker for those Traveler's Tales games. The Lego games are just kind of simple gameplay, and I like getting into those, playing those a bit. But also started playing Diablo 3 Ultimate Evil Edition, and I got it on Xbox One. Because a couple buddies of mine, they really wanted me to get it on Xbox One with them, and I didn't play Diablo 3 prior to this.
Yeah, I've played Diablo 3 for at least 400 hours on PC. Yeah, I'm a huge Diablo fan. I had some gripes in the beginning of the game, and then the expansion came out, and I didn't play it for a while. But once the expansion, Reaper Souls, came out on PC, I was really into it, and I played it for countless hours, and then I took a long break. I was like, I'm not going to play Diablo anymore, but my brother and my buddy, they wanted to get Reaper Ultimate Evil Edition on PS4, so I was like, alright, why not? And the second I booted it up, I fell right back into love with it. I mean, I have some minor gripes with the console version, but it looks great. It runs so smoothly, and I think it feels better for me on console. I mean, you gotta get used to the controls, but once you get used to any game controls, it's just fantastic. And I'm playing Disgaea 4, A Promise Revisited. I'm still chugging through that. I'm hoping it's over soon. I've put about 40 hours into it, and I feel bad because, like, what really annoys me is they'll say final battle or final chapter. I'm like, alright, I'm getting close to the end now. I'm excited. And I love the game, but, like, it honestly just drags for me at points. Where it's like, oh, like, this is the final chapter. No, this is the final chapter. And I'm just like, when can I get a definitive final chapter? Because I was hoping to complete it this weekend or today and get a review out by Sunday or something. But I honestly don't know when this game is going to end. And I feel bad, like, because I feel like I have to rush it a little bit, and it's not fair to treat the Disgaea series that way. But it's kind of annoying when they say, "Oh, here's the final chapter," and just kidding, there's more.
Sounds like a JRPG.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, on paper, Disgaea and I should be best friends. I love JRPGs, I love anime, and I love level grinding, but I'm just not one of those people who can devote 150, 200 hours into a Disgaea game like some people can. I would love to, but I guess maybe it's just the strategy RPG aspect, because that's probably my least favorite type of RPG. But it's a great game nonetheless. It's just that little gripe really annoys me, because I was hoping to finish it by today or tomorrow. I'm also playing The Last of Us Remastered, like most of you guys, and again, I could talk about it all day, but it's just fantastic. I keep going back to it, and the online is just so addicting. I played a fair amount on PS3, but I think I've played it more on PS4, and I've realized like how strong the multiplayer is. It's different from a Call of Duty or a Battlefield. Like, it's its own personal multiplayer. I love that. And lastly, I'm playing, like Julius, Diablo 3 Ultimate Evil Edition. I just spoke about it. I highly recommend it. If you haven't played Diablo, I think it's a must purchase because you, even for the time you put in, you can get 60 hours into it, and you'll still find new loot that you're like, oh my gosh, this is an awesome piece of armor or an awesome weapon that makes your character better and it makes you want to play even more.
Yeah, I'm not really that interested in Diablo actually, but I kind of want to get it just because like so many of the writers here are getting it, and I think it'd be a lot of fun to play with you guys.
Did you guys play like the Xbox 360, PlayStation 3 one at all?
I did not.
Okay, I tried that one and it was fine, but I had no interest in getting it for next gen consoles or current gen consoles. But the way you guys are talking about it, I think it could be a lot of fun.
I mean, it's the end of the summer for me, and I kind of want something to hold me over until Madden comes out and like Destiny and a couple other games come out.
NHL.
I mean, yeah, NHL. It's gonna hold me over for sure. And I mean, even as like a standalone game, like for someone who's poured 100+ hours into it, it's still a great game nonetheless. Even though it's just something to hold me over.
Yeah, I agree with that. I was actually having a conversation with a friend of mine earlier this week. For me, it's the perfect holdover until Destiny comes out. It is, it's a grind. It's a, and it's a quest for like endless loot, but it's it's a fun game, and it's best enjoyed when playing it with other people for sure.
Yeah, I mean, the one thing I liked about it is on PC, one person can be on the other side of the map, and it's just really annoying because you have to take your time to wait for them to catch up. But on console, you're all sharing one screen, so if one person goes ahead, the other people will follow. At least, like, local co-op. Multiplayer, I know you can go off the screen, but, I mean, for local co-op and such, like playing with my brother and my friend, I think that's perfect because it kind of makes you, like, stay focused. Like, alright, we're going ahead, like, make sure you're ready for combat. And that was what we're playing. So now we're going to move on to the news. So, Jake, why don't you take us away?
All right. So first up, Sucker Punch suffers some layoffs. Sony Computer Entertainment of America confirmed a reduction in workforce at the studio, which includes staff who worked on Infamous and some who went as far back as the Sly Cooper series. It is unknown how many staff are affected by the change.
It's really unfortunate to hear about layoffs in any form, especially at Sucker Punch. I'm a huge fan of their works. And, I mean, we could say it over and over again, like, there are some awesome people at Sucker Punch who have made some awesome work, like Infamous and Sly Cooper. And I really hope that they find work elsewhere because they're too talented to not put their hard work into something else.
Yeah, our best goes out to them, but I'm sure they will. I mean, those are some of the best. Those games have some of the highest pedigree in the gaming industry, so I think they'll be fine.
Yeah, that's kind of what I was gonna say. I'm sure they'll find a new job soon, just because how much pedigree Sucker Punch has.
I was just really surprised by this. Sucker Punch being, a developer of Sony first-party games, it just seemed like, with the success of the PlayStation, that nobody would be needing a new job that works on PlayStation games. It just seems like that PlayStation's doing so well, so Sucker Punch would just need probably more people to make an even bigger or better game. So I was a little surprised by this.
Yeah, I feel like every month it seems like just some Sony studio is people are getting laid off or people are leaving. Like it's kind of sad, kind of a bummer.
Yeah, and I believe that Second Son actually sold pretty well. So, yeah, I don't know about that.
All right, next up, Ice Bucket Challenge for ALSA. So I guess EA, the Electronics Arts CEO, Andrew Wilson, took the Ice Bucket Challenge. If you're not familiar with this, it's basically you pour ice water on your head, and it's just to raise awareness for the ALS Association. He also personally donated $1,000. I think this is kind of cool. It's showing a little bit of personality at EA, which they seem to be lacking most of the time.
Yeah, I think EA, they're starting to turn the page toward a more human business. And even something subtle like the CEO taking part of the ALS Ice Bucket Challenge. I mean, that's awesome. It's raising awareness among the gaming community. I know a bunch of celebrities have done it. I'm actually doing it today because a certain writer named Julius nominated me. But I mean, nonetheless, like that's awesome that the CEO is trying to spread awareness because it's a terrible disease, and unfortunately, some people have to have it.
Yeah. What I really appreciated about the whole Electronic Arts CEO participating in this is the fact that he also volunteered to do matching for donations. So basically, any Electronic Arts employee that does the Ice Bucket Challenge or and donates, those that donate to ALS, even if they didn't do the Ice Bucket Challenge, if they donate, EA is going to match whatever their donation is. So that does like you mentioned, that's a human factor to Electronic Arts that we really aren't used to seeing. So it was just it was impressive, from my perspective.
Yeah, I agree. I wonder if they'll still be voted worst company in America after this.
They didn't win last year, did they?
I don't know. They won like 3 years in a row though, or something like that. Maybe last year they finally
Yeah, I
got
thought they
knocked
broke
off.
the streak.
Yeah, I think it was last year. They were like, "Yes, we're not the worst anymore."
Probably the second worst, which I think is kind of ridiculous.
Yeah.
That EA, a video game company, is the worst company. I feel like you can probably find some worse ones.
I mean, I can understand the annoyance with like the code and like how like someone else can't play the game online because of the code, but that doesn't that shouldn't make them the worst company. I mean that might just be one thing that they do that's negative in people's eyes, but come on, I mean EA, they are huge in the game industry and they publish some awesome content.
All right, next up, the Xbox One now supports preloading. So if you're not familiar with preloading, what it is you can pretty much install the game a couple days before it comes out. So on day one at midnight, you can start playing it. They're going to do this with FIFA 15 and Forza Horizon 2, Madden NFL 15 as well. I think this is good. I know Sony's been doing it for a while, so it's good to see that Xbox is finally matched up with Sony there.
Yeah, I think like if you're a digital person, that's perfect for you because you don't have to. You just install it right away, and then you wait a little bit of time. It comes out, boom, you're playing it right away, and it also takes away from like having to drive to a store and like pick up a game, or you can just boot up your system right there, and boom, you're good to go. You're playing the game.
Yeah, I think the preloading feature on PS4 is making me want to buy digital games more. Just because it's like you get access to it like right when it comes out. You don't have to wait for the store to update in like the afternoon the next day, just because the PlayStation Store updates at like random times. But yeah, I think it's a cool feature. I've done it with Rogue Legacy and Plants vs Zombies.
Yeah, I never thought I'd be a huge advocate of digital games because I'm really a physical game person. But like we previously mentioned, Diablo 3, I think I downloaded it at like 10 o'clock, and I was like, all right, that's awesome. Like I don't have to wait until the next day to go to my GameStop and pick it up. I can just wait. I can download it, and it'll take maybe an hour or two, and boom, it's right there. It's on my system. I don't need a disc, and it's super convenient.
Yeah, I'm excited for this on Xbox. Particularly, considering the fact that next week, unfortunately, I have to go on business travel. So, like, Madden is coming out physically, and I'm like, oh, man, I really want to play Madden when it comes out. And I'm going to be, in a major metropolitan area, and I don't want to be trying to ride around in a city I don't know, trying to find a GameStop that'll have a copy of Madden that isn't pre-ordered. So, I'm actually going to buy the digital copy of Madden NFL 25, and I'm going to preload it so that, because I'm taking my Xbox with me on this business travel.
Nice. All right, so next, Witcher 3 might not run at 1080p on consoles. Uh-oh, people are going to be mad at this one.
God forbid.
So, Witcher 3 Wild Hunt developer CD Projekt Red has responded to a recent report, quoted a developer as saying the ambitious RPG may not run at 1080p on PlayStation 4 and Xbox One. I don't really care. I mean, as long as it's... I don't want it 720p. I want it above that, even though you honestly can't tell much of a difference. But this is just one of those things like people are going to get pissed about, but I mean, it'll still be a great game regardless, I think.
If it runs smoothly and there are no like frame rate drops or dips and it's just a smooth gameplay, that's totally fine with me. I could care less how the game actually looks. I mean, I just want The Witcher 3. I know it's going to be an extraordinary game. And I don't know why people just complain, oh, 720p versus 1080p. There's such a minute difference between the two that you really can't see it with a human eye. It's ridiculous.
People online make like such a big deal out of the whole 1080p thing. Like, is the game fun is probably like the most important thing, not like how many pixels are on your TV.
Yeah, I agree. I never really factored in like frame rate. I mean, I haven't had too many issues, but like now that like I am more familiar with the idea of it, like as long as it runs at a consistent frame rate, that's all that matters to me. I could care less if it looks like a PS2 game or really low visuals. Just give me the game, and if I can play it, that's totally fine by me.
Yeah, I think that you guys, all said, what I'm going to say. I think we're all on the same page here. We got in the game, we got into games because we like games. The first games that we all played obviously didn't look like, the games that are coming out now. So, what does it really matter? And I kind of wonder all the time when I hear people talk about, 720p, 1080p, XYZ, what's the big deal? Do you like the game or not? We've already seen The Witcher 3, and it looks great. So I don't care how many P's it is. It looks like a fun game, so I'm going to be playing it.
And finally, Brett's excited for this one. A release date has been announced for Freedom Wars.
Yes!
The highly anticipated title that launched in June for Japan will launch October 28th. We also got some details on DLC and pre-order items. It's just weapons, gear, things of that nature.
Oh my god, I'm so excited. I've mentioned before, it's probably my most anticipated game of this year, even though it's a video game that I feel like not many people really know about. I know it's doing super well in Japan, so I'm hoping that carries over to here as well, because I've seen very little, and I kind of want to limit what I see because I want to experience what I'm hoping it is, kind of like a Monster Hunter meets Shadow of the Colossus in some respects. I'm just so excited for this game, and I could definitely see myself hopefully pouring unlimited hours into a game that hopefully it is like done well.
I know basically nothing about this game, but I think I'm going to try it out just because it sounds pretty cool from what I've heard, but I haven't seen like anything about it.
Yeah, me neither.
There's some gameplay trailers and like a little like teasers like what the premise of the game is, but I mean besides that, that's I'm just gonna wait. It's probably gonna be like a blind purchase for me, but because I'm so excited, I'm willing to risk that. And now we're going to go on to what's out this week. So Grant, why don't you tell us some games out this week?
Metro Redux is out on PS4, Xbox One, and PC. Madden NFL 15 is coming out on all platforms. Infamous First Light, standalone DLC for Infamous Second Son is out on PS4. Professor Layton vs. Phoenix Wright is out on 3DS, and Hyperdimension Neptunia Rebirth 1 is out on Vita.
I know I've said I'm sick of remakes, but the Metro Redux does seem very intriguing to me. I never played Last Light or 2033. I unfortunately missed out on them, but I've seen some like footage of how the remaster looks compared to the originals, and it's stunning how a game looks like a 3-year difference from what it was to what it is now with the remaster.
Did you play it, Julius?
No, I've never played Metro. None of them. So I'm, this is something else that I'm like, man, this is a game that I've bypassed, multiple times, and now, I might actually take the opportunity and try this one out.
I played Last Light, and I really liked Last Light, but it was one of those games that, like, once I finished, I had no desire to play again. But now that I saw this redo is coming out, and especially with Metro 2033, because I never played that. I'm kind of interested in giving it a try. Actually, I will be giving it a try because I'll be reviewing it.
Nice. The thing is, I've heard like such a great disparity between people's views on the game. Like I've heard some people say like, oh, it's an okay game. I've heard other people say, oh, it's an awesome game. You have to play this game. And I feel like I'm on the side of the spectrum where I really want to play this game, and I feel like I really could like this game. It's like a survival horror type of game, right? In a way.
So like, what I'd say is if you like presentation in games, you'll really like this, because like you were saying, like the graphics are great, but the setting is awesome. It takes place in after the nuclear holocaust, and some Russians kind of buried themselves in the metro system there. And the premise is it's really cool. It's worth giving it a try, but the gameplay is kind of stiff. There were some improvements in Last Light though. So, I mean, I'd recommend giving it a try if you're into that. If not, you might want to pass this one up, because it is tough. It is a bit unfair at times. But it is a good experience.
Yeah, I mean 2 games for the price of 1. I mean, why not?
Not even. It's 50.
Yeah, I mean, I'm willing to pay that. I mean, I've never played them. That's totally fine by me. Unfortunately, I'm gonna have to wait because I gotta get some other games to play right now. But I think once that crazy fall is over, this will probably be one of the first games I pick up.
Yeah, that's understandable. It's a good one to wait for the price drop, I'd say.
And now we're gonna go on to our topics. So, Jake, this was your topic. Should all games strive to run at 60 frames per second? Why don't you take us away on that?
So I thought of this while I was playing The Last of Us Remastered. So I was trying out 60 frames a second and 30 frames per second. To be honest, I did not like 60 frames a second. The Last of Us is such a cinematic game, and I felt that 60 frames a second really took away from that, especially with the cutscenes. I didn't care for it. I ended up playing through grounded mode almost entirely on 30 frames a second because I thought it looked better, played better. The only time I do like 60 frames a second is multiplayer because it is a bit tighter. But do you guys think that all games should be 60 frames per second? All games should strive for that? Do you think it affects gameplay at all?
I mean, it's up to the developers. Like Last of Us, because it's such a cinematic game, and like stuff like that tends to run at like a 30 frames per second. I mean, that's totally fine by me. I mean, if it's an action-based game, or like you said, like a multiplayer, like a shooter or something, that should definitely strive for 60. I mean, honestly, it doesn't really matter to me as long as it's at a set, consistent frames per second.
Well, the thing with frames per second versus like 1080p and 720p is that you can usually feel a difference between the two.
Yeah, there's definitely a noticeable difference. Like in Last of Us, like you could definitely tell the difference, and I honestly like 60 frames per second a lot better. Well, not like a lot, but I mean, I played through it. I'm playing through it with 60 frames.
I was just gonna say, I played a fair amount of The Last of Us Remastered at 30 frames. And then I went to 60. There definitely is a difference. I honestly don't know which I would like more. It's a nice, refreshing feel to have it at 60, but to go back to the original kind of PS3 version, I think it at 30. I think it's totally fine, and it's entirely up to what you prefer.
I do think that first-person games should try to be at 60 if it doesn't like affect the gameplay.
Yeah, I tend to agree with that too. First person shooters, if you can get that 60 frames per second, it really makes a difference. And really anything that's kind of like have a twitchy kind of gameplay, fast action gameplay, that 60 frames per second means a lot. But those cinematic experiences, like Jake, like you, I haven't finished replaying The Last of Us Remastered, but I played it a bunch last week. And, I definitely, after the first, probably about half hour, I moved back to, the 30 frames per second just because, it felt better. It felt like the cinematic experience that it was meant to be. So, but I guess, overall answer to the question, it depends.
That really is how you have to look at it. Like you're saying, like first person shooters, you're going to want 60 frames a second, like especially when Call of Duty kind of set that benchmark. I mean, now if a first-person shooter, especially on next gen, isn't isn't 60 frames a second, I'm gonna have trouble getting into it, to be perfectly honest.
Yeah, I totally understand that. I mean, yeah, they did set like such a high bar, and these new consoles with new power, you expect them to really surpass that or match what other games are able to do at 60. Yeah, I mean, I would like every game to be at 60 frames per second to answer your question, and I think they should strive for it, but it depends on what type of game it is.
Another interesting thing, this is just kind of a bit of an aside, but do you think the next big thing will be 120 frames a second? Because I'm pretty sure the human eye won't even know anything beyond 60, but I could still imagine fanboys getting in wars like, oh, the PlayStation 5 is 120 frames a second. It's like, no, it doesn't matter.
Like, it's ridiculous. Like, and another like aside, like that's like the 720p versus 1080p. It's like, we can't see that difference. What does it matter?
Yeah, well, what about 4K? 4K, you can tell the difference.
Yeah, you can tell the difference between 4K and some people, they tell me that they can tell the difference between 720p and 1080p. And really, when it comes to frames per second, it's really not that big of a deal for me either. So I just like games.
Yeah.
And I think when I say that, I think we all can agree to that. We care about the game, and whatever fits best into the experience of a game, that's what we want to see. But Jake, you're probably right that PlayStation 5 will be about like 90 frames per second, and there'll be a bunch of people arguing on on in the comment sections whether it's Destructoid or whether it's on Reddit or whether it's on IGN or IceDJGaming.com. People will be arguing back and forth about how many frames per second this game is or what this system can handle. When really, they should be focusing on are the games fun or not.
And I can pretty much only tell you like if a game is either running at 60 or running at 30. Like there's some people that can be like, that game's running at 34 frames a second, like exactly. I don't know how that's possible.
I think we've kind of beat this topic to death.
All right, we're gonna go into my topic. Have you guys played PT, the playable teaser for Silent Hills?
I have not. I'm excited to play it, though. Just finished downloading it. I was going to have my dad try it out and see what he thinks, because he's into all that scary stuff.
Julius or Grant, have you guys played it yet?
No.
No, I haven't. I can't play horror games.
Oh my god, it is. I like horror stuff. I think Hideo Kojima and Guillermo del Toro together is the perfect collaboration for a game like this. It is terrifying, to be honest. I think Silent Hill 2 or maybe Dead Space, they were probably the scariest games I've ever played. But now that PT's out, this is probably the creepiest, scariest game I've ever played. Because you don't really know what to expect. You start off in this random house, and there's just all this stuff going on in the background. Like there's this radio program describing events that happen in the house.
I wouldn't spoil too much of it.
Oh no, it's a subtle thing that's in the background, and there are different atmospheric stuff, and it really made me feel tense, and I was like, oh my god, make it stop, and I would go through a certain area, and then I was like, where's the jump scene? Where am I going to be oh my god, and jump back in my chair. It was terrifying. And I played it with one of my buddies, and we started at the same time. And he's like, "Oh my god, Brett, do you see that?" I was like, "No." What am I supposed to see? And I'm like, "Do you see that?" And he's like, "No." And apparently, it's supposed to be different for each person, so you're really not gonna have the same experience. And I think that's genius.
That's interesting.
Yeah. Are you sold on Silent Hill now?
Oh, absolutely. Silent Hill 2, I think, was the only one I've actually really played. And I love that game, and I've heard the last few previous installments in the series have been okay, and I think this is a refreshing kind of a reboot, or just someone else taking the lead and designing such a big game in the gaming industry.
Have you played Outlast, Brett?
I have not. I'm still meaning to download that. I've heard that's pretty dang scary as well. But I mean, what I saw with PT, I just, oh god, I can't do it again.
Yeah, like what I said before, I can't do horror games. I played maybe an hour of Outlast and I was just done.
Yeah, I mean, I like horror games, but when they like really make me feel tense and I'm like really worrisome about turning the corner, I'm like, oh god, like, that's scary.
What do you guys think of this marketing, though? I thought the marketing was, like, I think you kind of touched on a little, but I think it's genius, like, getting people hands-on this early.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know when it's supposed to. I don't think there's even a release date. I'm hoping like late 2015, probably 2016 or something. But like, oh my god, like I saw a little bit. I was like, oh, at Gamescom at the Sony's press conference. Oh, like, what is this? Seems really cool. And I kept like reading like reports on it, and I was like, oh my god, like, what is PT? And I downloaded it, and I know exactly what it is. The scariest game I've ever played.
Well, that's all pretty cool. The whole, the fact that PT is, a playable, opportunity to play the game. I think that the game is really, it sounds pretty interesting. I haven't played a horror game in, quite some time, so I may, check this out. I'm definitely, interested in it, based on Brett's glowing advertisement for them. So I might check it out.
Now, this is the one, too, with Norman Reedus starring in it, right?
Yeah,
There's more interesting news with this game.
I haven't really, like, seen them. I have no idea how to activate them, but apparently there are puzzles that you solve throughout your experience, and that's how you, like, see, like, the teaser or the trailer featuring Norman Reedus. And I watched a video on it. I was like, oh, that's really cool. Like, I assume they're using the Fox engine because it looks so much like Norman Reedus, and I think that's awesome. I'm hoping it'll be in the third person when Silent Hills launches, but even as a first person experience, like, I'll hear something and I'm like, I don't want to turn around. Like, please don't turn around. Do not turn around. Turn around. Nothing there. What the heck? Where is it? And it's just, oh my god.
Hopefully this launches with Project Morpheus.
Oh my gosh, could you? Oh jeez.
I would be so down.
Yeah, Project Morpheus, when that comes out, that could really like make some games really awesome. Any type of horror game that would probably be really cool to play with a Project Morpheus. And also, I just got this, this dream out there that we're gonna have like a Titanfall 2, and it'll be on PS4, and it'll be like compatible with Project Morpheus, and so we'll have like be able to play with big gigantic robots. I'll be so up for that.
That would be insane.
All right, that was a topic for PT, and now Julius, your topic is: are microtransactions bad for gaming? So why don't you go into this?
Well, yeah, this topic kind of just came about based on the news from Assassin's Creed Unity. Ubisoft has already said that there will be microtransactions in the game, and that it will allow players to be able to purchase upgrades and additional gear, etc. That'll be beneficial in the single player experience. And I was having a conversation with a number of gamers, either on Twitter or on a couple other sites about this, and I was just kind of saying that for me, the fact that there are microtransactions, it really doesn't bother me, particularly when it stays in the single player experience. I mean, I'm not going to spend my money on them. So, if somebody else chooses to spend their money on a microtransaction to get some new gear or to make the game easier, to maybe take away some of the grind of some of these open world games, hey, by all means, if you want to spend your money on that, who am I to tell you not to? But the conversation kind of led to, other people saying that they think it's a slippery slope, and that the fact that there are microtransactions in this game and in some other games, that eventually is going to get to a point where people will be able to pay money in order to be better than everybody else in a game, and that those that have the most income to spare on this type of thing will come out victorious in multiplayer, skirmishes and things like that.
Yeah, I've nothing against microtransactions. Personally, I don't see myself using my own money to upgrade my gear and get an advantage. If you want to, more power to you. That's entirely up to you. I just feel that I should work hard within the game to achieve whatever the next upgrade for whatever it may be. I don't think they're necessarily bad. It's a person's preference. If you want to get that advantage, if you want to be slightly better than the competition, go right ahead.
I think microtransactions are fine as long as you're like able to obtain them without like purchasing them with money. Like if you're able to do something in the game to unlock them, then I think they're fine.
Yeah, like Julius was saying, or some of the people you're talking to were saying, I think it is a slippery slope. But as long as it doesn't like bug me, as long as I'm like constantly being pinged, like, oh, you can buy like more gear with actual money, and like as long as that kind of stays away from the experience, I'm okay. I'm okay with it. But it's just one of those things that I won't be partaking in, and I hope it doesn't get to the point where like you have to buy portions of the game, which seems to be all of gamers' fears.
No, I couldn't even imagine that. That would just, I would probably get so angry if, like you mentioned, like if we had to buy content like that, that would really annoy me.
Yeah, I just kind of feel like, I can understand the perspective that, oh, this is a slippery slope and it could potentially get to that point. But I think that, when it comes to games, gamers can be are really outspoken about what they like and what they don't like. I mean, look at all of the changes that Microsoft made after that E3 before the Xbox One launch. And so, say, games start to go that route where microtransactions, severely affect, gameplay and severely affect, the performance or the enjoyment for other players, or certain content or a large amount of content is locked out because because you didn't pony up the extra money. People will be very vocal, and I think they'll be also vocal with their wallets, and they won't buy those games. And I think that if we were to get to that point, I feel like it would just be weeded. Those games would be weeded out pretty quickly.
Yeah, I think you're probably right. One thing interesting, I thought everyone was kind of mad at Microsoft for having microtransactions in games like Forza and Rise, but like I felt like I wasn't bugged at all about buying things on that, and like I didn't feel the need to. Like I finished Rise no problem. Forza, I mean, as long as you race enough, you'll be able to get the cars on your own. So I think there's a balance, and I think if you can find that balance, then most people won't have a problem with it.
Yeah, I think they're okay just because they're usually optional. Like what you guys were saying, if it gets to the point where they're not optional, like you have to buy them to like progress through a game, then I think there will be a problem.
And that covers our topics, and this has been episode 10 of the Alphacast. Be sure to check out the new and improved IceDJGaming.com. No more Weebly. It's beautiful. And
none of that Weebly.
Oh, it's great. We're putting up daily content, and we're working hard every day to bring you guys important stories, reviews, and more. If you guys have any topics that we should discuss, feel free to tweet us or go to our forums with your topics. You can tweet at our account at our account IceDJGaming. You can find all of us on our personal accounts on Twitter as well. You can find Grant at GrantRam3. You can find Julius at
Respected Genius. Just change the I to a lowercase L.
I to a lowercase L. You can find Jake at
Jacob Deck, 2Ks, DEKK.
And you can find myself at Brett Woodmansee, WOODMANSEE. 3 words, people.
All right. Before you end it, I just want to plug a couple of things. So first off, it looks like we're going to have lots of reviews coming up because Metro, Madden, and Infamous are all getting reviewed by us, and we're going to try to do some video reviews. So be sure to check those out. And also don't forget the Debatacast, our brother podcast, I guess. They have some great stuff there too.
They got some great discussions there. I've been on a couple episodes. It's always a pleasure talking to those guys about games. And we'll catch you on the next episode. Have a great day, everyone.
See you guys.
Peace.